Hi, this is Sandra Acevedo, Community Dietitian with the Riverside Community Health Foundation. Today I'm showing you the second part of my presentation on cancer nutrition. Today we're going to talk about the other foods that have also shown to have strong preventive properties against cancer development. Like in the first presentation, today's presentation is called Nutrition Beyond Treatment Part 2. So for this presentation, our objectives are to help you understand the importance of nutrition in preventing cancer reoccurrence, and once again ask you if you can name 5 foods that reduce the risk of cancer development. If you saw our first presentation, we want to ask you then if you can come up with at least, say, 7 to 10 foods that you know will help reduce the risk of cancer development. We are not going to quiz you. It's just something to keep in mind. Towards the end of the presentation, we want you to think about that. If you can remember a couple of the foods we've been talking about, and also think about ideas on how we can incorporate them in our diet more frequently. So the information I'm presenting today comes from the American Institute for Cancer Research. This is the nation's leading charity in the field of diet, physical activity, and weight management as it relates to cancer prevention. I encourage you to check out their webpage. It's got a lot of helpful information and recommendations on how to reduce our risk of cancer reoccurrence. Their webpage is www.aicr.org. Once again, it's www.aicr.org. The American Institute of Cancer Research, together with another organization known as the World Cancer Research Fund, which is a leading authority on cancer prevention research too, both are involved in the making and management of the 2 programs or projects that are listed here on the slide. The first one is known as the Continuous Update Project. I have talked about this in my past presentations. This is an ongoing program that looks at global research on how diet, nutrition, physical activity can affect cancer risk and survival. It is continuously collecting and analyzing data related to lifestyle factors and cancer risk. It also makes sure that communities, families, and physicians all have access to research on cancer risk and prevention. So it makes all the research easily available. Then there's the third expert report, which is a report created by both of these organizations, the American Institute for Cancer Research and also by the World Cancer Research Fund. The name of the report is Diet, Nutrition, Physical Activity, and Cancer, a global perspective. So that means that they're looking at research in the whole world pretty much, in the planet Earth. So the third expert report contains updated cancer prevention recommendations, and it builds on the groundbreaking achievements of the first and second expert report. So there's been other reports created. The first one was in 1997. They're created every 10 years. The information that goes into this report actually comes from the Continuous Update Project. So what the Continuous Update Project collects is created into recommendation in the expert report. The foods that will be presented today are mentioned frequently in the third expert report, and you can also find studies related to them on the Continuous Update Project. So this is where the information is coming from that we're talking about today. So today we're going to be talking about phytochemicals. We know there are naturally occurring compounds in plant foods such as fruits, vegetables, whole grains, beans, nuts, and seeds. For plants, the function they have in plants is that they help to protect them from other predators. For us, we have figured out that phytochemicals have protective or disease preventive characteristics. They help us to prevent chronic conditions or to avoid the reoccurrence of them coming back. However, certain phytochemicals in lab studies don't always show the same effects that are in the body. So one of the things that you're going to see often in the different foods here that we talk about is the many phytochemicals sometimes are not fully absorbed in the body, and what happens is that the bacteria that live in our colon will digest that phytochemical, create new compounds, and those compounds that are created are the ones that keep our gut healthy and reduce the inflammation in our body, and at the same time help us to reduce risk of cancer reoccurrence. So once again, I want to bring up the functions of different phytochemicals in a way so that we can think about them when we're talking about their function in specific foods. One function that some phytochemicals have is an antibacterial effect. For example, allicin, which is found in garlic, has antibacterial properties. So garlic could be helpful during the time when we're likely to get sick. It can help to prevent us from getting sick and keep our immune system strong. Other phytochemicals have hormonal actions that take place. Isoflavones in soy can imitate human estrogens and help to reduce menopausal symptoms and also osteoporosis. These are also known as phytoestrogens. In cabbage, you find indoles. And what indoles do is they stimulate enzymes that make estrogen less effective and can reduce risk for breast cancer. Other phytochemicals can act as antioxidants, and antioxidants provide protection against oxidative damage, and this can reduce risk for developing certain cancer. And then also there's other phytochemicals that can increase a cancer cell's tendency to self-destruct. So they tell the cancer cell to not continue reproducing itself and pretty much to self-destruct so it doesn't continue to grow. Other functions also that are present in other phytochemicals, these have been found also in lab and animal studies. Another one could be that they stop carcinogens before they start cancer development. Another function is they block development of new blood vessels tumors tend to need to grow. So tumors, when they need to grow and grab more nutrients, they start to build new blood vessels around themselves, and certain phytochemicals will block this development. Other phytochemicals can also help with inflammation, so they help reduce inflammation in the body, thus creating an environment less friendly for cancer. And then other phytochemicals can also physically attach themselves to cell walls, inhibiting the binding of pathogens such as toxins or carcinogens to human cell walls. So in the next couple of slides, we're going to continue our focus on foods that have been recognized for having properties that can help to reduce the risk of cancer. This list comes from the American Institute of Cancer Research. And you want to remember also that no single food can protect you against cancer by itself. But research does show that a diet filled with a variety of vegetables, fruits, whole grains, beans, and other plant foods can help lower the risk for many cancers. The first food we're going to talk about is flax seeds. Flax seeds are the seeds of the flax plant. They are packed with fiber and also phytochemicals. The phytochemicals that they're best known for are lignans, which are compounds that have been very well studied for their anti-cancer activity. You want to be careful though, because flaxseed the consumption of flaxseed can sometimes interact with certain medications. They can decrease the absorption of certain medications. So you want to make sure that if you're having flaxseed, you either have it 1 hour before or 2 hours after any prescription or non-prescription medicine. What else is in flaxseed that's important for us? It's rich in fiber, as I mentioned, so that keeps our intestines healthy. And also keeps our cholesterol levels at a healthy level and protects our heart. It's got lignans, the phytochemical I was talking about, which is it's a fiber-associated compound. And flax seeds are the highest dietary source of lignin. So if we want to include lignans in our diet, we have to include flax seeds because that's where you're going to find the most. It's also got magnesium, manganese, alpha-linolenic acid, which is your omega-3s that help to reduce inflammation, and a form of vitamin E, which is another type of antioxidant. Lignans are also known, another name for lignans, they're known as phytoestrogens. What that means is that they mimic the action of estrogen in the body. They bind to estrogen receptors in different tissues in the body and reduce estrogen activity in that tissue. Their consumption has been related to a reduction in risk of hormonal cancer. And scientists are looking at these tissue selective activities of phytoestrogens, and they want to understand how this effect happens, that they can have an anti-estrogenic effect in reproductive tissue, because they've seen that it can help to reduce risk of hormone-associated cancers, such as cancers related to, breast cancer, uterine cancer, ovarian cancer, or prostate cancer. So including this in your diet is going to be important. The next food we'll be talking about is garlic. Garlic is a staple ingredient in many different foods around the world, cuisines around the world. Whether it's raw, sauté, roasted, or dried, garlic tends to add a delicious, unique, and pungent flavor. It's got a strong flavor. What you want to do is when you're cooking, you want to plan ahead 10 minutes before you're about to heat up the garlic. You want to chop or crush the garlic and let it sit for 10 minutes before actually cooking it. This actually allows time for an enzyme called allanase to produce allicin. And this allicin is the source of an active compound that acts inside of garlic to help us improve our health. So make sure that we always kind of prepare ahead and say, okay, I'm going to start cutting these different vegetables and everything, but first I'll cut my garlic. So what's important in garlic that matters for us is the allium compounds. Right now, laboratory research, so this means research done on animals and also in cells, has shown that allium compounds in garlic can offer anti-cancer activity. But support for garlic lowering cancer risk is still lacking in human studies. More research is needed to understand how garlic's role in cancer risk can vary depending on the amount of garlic someone consumes, the absorption that they might have, the way they prepare it, and individual differences that people might have genetically, maybe the different microbes they have in their gut. So they're still trying to fully understand why for some people it might really help to reduce cancer risk, and for other people it might not have the same effects. That's why they can't say is that it's showing to be lowering cancer risk in human studies at the moment. And the third expert report, that was created with the Continuous Update Project, the evidence they found is still too limited to draw any conclusions about garlic and cancer risk with regards to human studies. But when they're looking at isolated cells and animals, they're finding that it does help reduce risk of cancer. What are the different mechanisms that they're looking at in labs to kind of see what way garlic is behaving to help us reduce risk of cancer? They're noticing that garlic can inhibit enzymes that can activate carcinogens. It can also boost enzymes that remove the effects of carcinogens. It reduces inflammation in the body. When we have too much inflammation in the body, we set up the body so that it's a little friendlier towards cancer. So by reducing inflammation, we make it less friendly. It supports the repair of DNA, slowing growth and stimulating self-destruction of cancer cells without disturbing normal cells. And they've also seen the action of garlic being able to limit cancer's ability to spread by decreasing a tumor's ability to grow new blood vessels. So we talked a little bit about that when we were talking about the functions of different phytochemicals. And one of the functions we saw is certain phytochemicals being able to reduce the ability of tumors to create new blood vessels, which allows, so then that means that the tumor can't continue to grow because it's not going to get the nutrients. So in garlic, that's one of the mechanisms they're looking at. So one of the other foods then that you want to include in your diet regularly is garlic. And make sure, like it says in the beginning, we talked about it in the beginning of the slide, cut it 10 minutes before you're going to cook it, because that allows the active compound allicin to become active, pretty much. The next food we want to talk about is grapes. Grapes can be a very portable snack. They can be added to salads very easily, to green salads, to fruit salads, to main dish salads too, to add extra color. And also for an unexpected touch, you can try them on pizza or even with stir-fried Brussels sprouts and other vegetables. So we want to be creative about which ways we're including these foods in our diet if we're not used to including them often. What is in grape that's important for us? Resveratrol, and also a wide variety of phytochemicals, phytocompounds, have been found in grapes, and they're likely to help the fruit play a role in reducing risk of cancer. The compounds, the phytochemicals that we're talking about are the following. We have flavonols, which help to inhibit inflammation and also tumor growth. They help to aid immunity and also boost production of enzymes in the body that will clean up the body. They take out the toxins. You also have phenolic acids, which tend to boost up the cell's defense, so they boost up the immune system. Resveratrol in cell studies has shown to inhibit all stages of development and progression of various cancers, specifically skin, colorectal, breast, prostate, liver, lung, and other types of cancers. And also you find anthocyanins in grapes, which is being studied right now for its different effects. Laboratory studies right now are suggesting that these compounds, anthocyanins, or the compounds that come out once the gut microbes digest them, can influence expression of genes related to cancer development. So what this is saying is that the microbes in our gut will break down the compounds in the grapes, the anthocyanins. They create new compounds, and these compounds are thought to be involved in reducing cancer risk through gene expression. There's still a lot of work needed to be done to understand this a little bit farther, But these are some of the mechanisms that they're finding that where grape is involved in helping to reduce risk of cancer. So I want you to think a little bit about how you can add grapes more often to your diet, not just as a snack, but maybe in a creative way, as it was mentioned here, maybe with some vegetables, or mixing it in with some Brussels sprouts, giving it a little bit of a salty and sweet flavor at the time, okay, at the same time. So hopefully that this is another food that you can add to your diet in a regular basis. The next food we're going to talk about is kale. Kale is a very popular food right now, and you can easily find a lot of recipes online for it. It's a nutrient-packed vegetable and one that you can prepare in very delicious and creative ways. I've made kale as kale chips at home. I've also bought kale chips. I've also made kale salad using lemon and avocado to massage the leaves, which makes it softer. There's different ways I've tried it. I do encourage you to try it at home because there's different ways to have it, and because it's an all-star vegetables, as we're gonna learn today, it's nutrient packed and it gives us benefits from different groups of vegetables pretty much. So kale offers all the benefits of dark green leafy vegetables along with the health protective compounds of cruciferous vegetables. And we talked about cruciferous vegetables in the first presentation when we talked about broccoli. We talked about broccoli, we talked a little bit about Brussels sprouts, and in cruciferous vegetables you also include cauliflower. So there's different groups of vegetables, and this one specifically, kale, has the benefits of the green leafy vegetables and the cruciferous vegetables. Research is finding that the carotenoids found in dark green leafy vegetables, such as in kale, can act as antioxidants and boost the body's own antioxidant defenses. So the body does create its own antioxidants, but by eating foods rich in antioxidants, we can actually make those antioxidants in our body become stronger because there's more of them. These defenses help to stop free radicals from damaging DNA that can lead to, that if left for too long and allows the DNA to be damaged, can lead to cancer. Kale also has vitamin C, which is a powerful antioxidant that helps to inhibit formation of carcinogens. Other things that you find in kale are beta-carotene, which can inhibit cancer cell growth, work as an antioxidant, and also improve the immune response. Dietary fiber, which keeps our gut healthy and happy, keeps our cholesterol levels at a good numbers, and also protects our heart. You also find flavonols, which can inhibit inflammation and tumor growth, help with immunity, and also boost up the production of enzymes that detoxify or clean the body. You also find folate in kale, and folate is a type of B vitamin that helps to create new immune cells. So it's important also for our immune system. And finally, in kale, you find glucosinolates. We talked about glucosinolates when we talked about broccoli in the first presentation. They help to induce detoxification of carcinogens, again, so they're cleaning up the body of carcinogens, limit production of cancer-related hormone, and also block carcinogens and prevent tumor growth. So it's nutrient packed. We encourage you to include it in your diet. You can find creative ways to add it, but we do want it to be something that's regularly eaten in your diet. So the next food we'll be talking about is our pulses, like dry beans, peas, lentils, or legumes. They are a top source of dietary fiber and contain numerous potentially protective phytochemicals called polyphenol compounds that can help to reduce risk of cancer. We want to include in your diet legumes pretty much regularly. What's different ways can we eat this? One practical way maybe for snacks could be as a hummus or other bean-based dips. They can be delicious with raw vegetables or whole grain crackers or pita bread for snacks or with meals. They also make great sandwich spreads, or they can be used for baked potato toppings. So finding different ways. I like making lentil soup, but I don't always think about hummus. So maybe that can be an extra way of just making sure I eat my vegetables and then I can mix them with hummus. In the cancer research right now is showing that dietary fiber, resistant starch, and phenolic compounds in legumes all can support the growth of health-promoting gut bacteria, the microbiome. More research is still needed to understand how individual differences in people and different forms of these compounds can contribute to protection against cancer. But they are finding out that these main compounds, phenolic compounds, resistant starch, and dietary fiber, have a big role in helping to reduce the risk of cancer. So what is in legumes that we can count on that can be beneficial for us? As we mentioned earlier, dietary fiber keeps our gut healthy and happy. Resistant starch helps to feed our healthy gut bacteria and keep our digestive system happy so that it doesn't make it a friendly environment for cancer. And also the products produced by the bacteria that help to digest this, the compounds in the legumes, helps to reduce inflammation. What comes out of it, once the bacteria digest it, will help to reduce inflammation in the body. You also find phenolic acids in legumes, which prevent cancer formation, prevent inflammation, and also work as antioxidants. We have folate, which, as I mentioned earlier, is a B vitamin that helps to create new immune cells, so it will boost up the immune system. We also have anthocyanins that can inhibit inflammation and tumor growth, help with immunity, and boost production of enzymes that clean up the body. And then also lignans. We talked about lignans a little bit when we talked about flaxseed. They act as phytoestrogens and help to reduce estrogen activity in hormonal tissues, thus with this helping to reduce cancer risk. So this is another type of food that we want to include frequently in our diet, our legumes. The next food we'll be talking about are raspberries, and in laboratory studies, they have shown potentials for several layers of antioxidant and anti-inflammatory defenses against cancer. So this is some type of fruit that you want to include in your diet regularly. The cancer research right now is showing that raspberry can offer distinct benefits to a healthful diet that is focused on reducing cancer. Their unique combination of high dietary fiber and elagitanin compounds can play an important role in helping to reduce cancer risk. Elagitanin compounds are broken down by our gut bacteria, and the new products produced decrease growth and stimulate self-destruction of several types of cancer. This has been seen in animal and also in cell studies. So this is something to keep in mind, that these compounds, elagitanin, once broken down by our gut bacteria, they actually produce new compounds that help to reduce our risk of cancer. What else is in raspberry that is important to us? We have dietary fiber, as we've been mentioning it. It's good for our gut. It keeps our bacteria healthy and fed because it feeds our gut bacteria. Also keeps our cholesterol levels at good levels and protects our heart. And also when we eat foods rich in fiber, it helps so that we stay full longer too. So that's another good benefit of that. Also, it's rich in vitamin C, a strong antioxidant that will boost up the immune system. It is rich on anthocyanins, which can inhibit inflammation and tumor growth, help with immunity, and boost productions of enzymes that will clean up or detoxify the body. It's also rich in phenolic acids, which can prevent cancer formation, inflammation, and also work as antioxidant. What's one way of having raspberries? So if you're buying some raspberries and you're noticing they're going bad, I really recommend freezing them before they start going bad. With frozen raspberries, you can make a raspberry yogurt without added sugar. All you have to do is freeze the raspberries. And then once you take them out, you put them in a paper towel on the microwave plate and use the defrost setting for about 30 seconds. Then you go ahead and stir that into a plain unsweetened yogurt and enjoy it. So I always tell people, don't buy fruit flavored yogurts because many times they're going to have extra added sugars. If you go ahead and buy the plain yogurt and add your fruit at home, that's going to make a huge difference with regards to how much sugar you're having in your diet. Okay, so another food that we want to include in our diet often is going to be your raspberries. So the last food we'll be talking about today is soy. Soy is one of the few plant foods with all the amino acids that your body needs to make protein. So it contains all the essential amino acids, which is what you usually find in animal foods. It's rare to find it usually in plant foods because plant foods won't contain all the essential amino acids, but soy is one of the plant foods that has all the amino acids that your body needs to make protein. Okay. So research right now, the results that are coming out for soy differ on whether soy foods are likely to reduce cancer risk. So what they're coming out with is saying that either soy will not have an effect on a person if they're consuming it, or that it will reduce cancer risk. It's not saying anything the other way, that it could increase risk. The variety of study outcomes can reflect influences that differ by the type of soy food. So sometimes that's what's different that they're finding out, that sometimes people eat different kinds of types of soy foods. We know that the less processed soy foods are going to be the healthiest one. And also another difference that comes into mind also, the time of life when they're being consumed. they found research that for certain for women, when they consume soy food at a younger when they're young, when they're children, this is like more likely to be protective for them as they get older with regards to breast cancer. Also, the type of cancer the person's had can have a difference, can cause a difference in regards to soybean, um, something that will reduce cancer risk, and also individual differences in genetics, gut microbe, or overall diets. So all these differences is telling us that that's why they can't come out necessarily with one recommendation of saying, okay, this is the way it is, because there's so many different ways of eating soy, of the when people consume them in their life, the types of cancer people have had, and how that can affect also whether they should be eating soy or not, and individual differences like genetics, gut microbes, and overall diet. But for breast cancer survivors, what they're finding out is consistently that from population studies that there's no increased risk for breast cancer survivors who consume soy foods. So if you're a breast cancer survivor, eating soy food will not increase your risk of developing breast cancer again. In fact, limited evidence is showing that there is a potential for a greater overall survival and perhaps even a decreased reoccurrence among women a year or more after diagnosis who include moderate amounts of soy in their diet. So what is moderate amounts of soy? Usually it's about 1 cup of soy milk, a half to 1/3 of a cup of soybeans, or tofu. So that of times 3 times per day is considered a moderate amount of soy food. What else is in soy that it's important for us? We have isoflavones that are in soy, and they are phytochemicals that in cell and animal studies have shown to increase antioxidant, anti-inflammatory, and carcinogen deactivating enzymes activity pretty much. So they're helping to reduce risk of cancer overall. You also find phenolic acids, which can increase the cell's antioxidant and anti-inflammatory defenses, so they boost up the defenses of the cell. You have folate, which helps to maintain a healthy DNA and keep cancer-promoting genes turned off. Also, folate, we talked about it earlier, is a B vitamin that helps to boost up your immune system. You also have lignans in soybean that can increase antioxidant, anti-inflammatory, and carcinogen deactivating enzymes too. And they also decrease growth and increase the self-destruction of cancer cells. You also have dietary fiber in soy, and we've been talking about that throughout this whole presentation. Resistant starch and fermentable types of dietary fiber can help support the growth of healthy bacteria in your colon. And in that sense, it also keeps the whole colon area pretty healthy and with less inflammation, meaning that it's less likely for cancer to grow there. And then the other compound found in soy is phytic acid, which can reduce the damage that may reduce damage to colon cells from free radicals that can sometimes be produced there. So it protects the colon. What are different ways we can eat soy? An easy way, and I've seen them that they sell frozen bags like this. I don't know how many of you have tried edamames before. They're great. They taste great. They feel light, and you're getting a pretty good snack because it's rich in protein too. So protein will keep you full a little longer, and it's rich also in fiber. So edamames are young green soybeans. You can see them in the image. They can be briefly steamed or boiled for a delicious snack. They can be used for salad toppings or even a bean dip. Another option could be just to eat soy nuts, like roasted mature soybeans, and they can be a good option for snacks or added to salads. So we encourage you to include soy in your diet to make it healthier and to also help us reduce the risk of developing cancer in the future. So we come to the end of our presentation. I know in this presentation we're highlighting specific foods, but I want to remind you that it's not just about that one food. What's important is the overall pattern of food that we are eating throughout the week, throughout the months. So our pattern is more important than specifically adding that one food. I know I also talked a lot about different compounds like vitamins, minerals, and phytochemicals in each of these foods, but I don't want you to run out and buy that specific phytochemical or vitamin. It's important to acknowledge that different components in a single food can be working together to benefit our health. So maybe we could be looking at soy, and there's a couple of different, the fiber and phytochemicals in that they can be working, they might be more potent and stronger because they're in that same food together. So if we try to get it on its own, it might not have the same effect. And also consider that that also happens when you combine two different foods. Say you eat beans with soy. The phytochemicals or the fiber in beans could be working together with the phytochemicals that are present in soy. So also noting that there's a lot we don't know about the mechanisms of how these different components in food work together, but we can rely on the fact that if we're choosing the real food more than the supplement, we're more likely to get that benefit. So always try to choose real food instead of supplements and focus on your overall eating pattern. So do not get stressed if you rarely include, say, soy in your diet, but do get creative and find ways to add it slowly into your diet until it becomes something that it is regular. Thank you very much for the time you have given to this presentation today, for everything today. We hope to see you again for the third part of this presentation. Don't forget to follow the Riverside Community Health Foundation and the Pink Ribbon Place on Facebook and Instagram. Stay safe and continue to work on eating healthier. Thank you so much again. Bye-bye.